All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're looking at something that pretty much challenges everything we were taught about money. Because, the truth is, the richest person you know, they probably drive a car worth less than 30 grand. Meanwhile, the guy with the absolutely nicest, flashiest car in your office statistically has a net worth under $200,000. It's crazy, right? Real wealth just doesn't look like wealth. Flashy, visible money and actual, quiet wealth are two completely different things.
And the cost of getting that wrong? It's literally staggering. The illusion of trying to look wealthy costs the average American a massive $400,000 over their lifetime. Let that sink in. That is the gap we're tackling today. Because wealth isn't some magical moment when your account finally hits a certain number. It's actually a set of structural habits running quietly in the background.
So here's our step-by-step roadmap to close that $400,000 gap. We're going to look at the wealth illusion. Step 1 is capping your baseline. Step 2 is automating your architecture. Step 3 simplifies your investing. Step 4 protects your time. And Step 5, well, we learn how to stay relentlessly boring.
All right, step 1, cap your baseline and stop the invisible creep.
The fundamental realization here is that displaying wealth and actually building wealth are competing activities. Basically, every dollar you spend to signal to other people that you have money is a dollar that cannot compound for you. And the trap here is what we call invisible baseline creep. Every single visible upgrade you make permanently raises your spending floor. Think about it. You go out and get the nicer car, and suddenly the old one feels like this massive step backward. You move into the bigger apartment, and your last place just feels like a total downgrade. It's this invisible cycle that sets a brand new, much higher minimum for what you need to spend just to feel normal. The quietly wealthy? They completely avoid this. In fact, if you look at the famous Millionaire Next Door study, it proved that the vast majority of true millionaires live in really modest homes, they shop at regular stores, they purposely keep their baseline low so their wealth can actually grow. Let's put some numbers to this and compare two cars to see how this plays out in real life. Take a look at car A. It's a cheaper car, $35,000, but the owner replaces it every 3 years because, they always want that new ride smell. Over a 12-year timeline, you've spent 140 grand, plus you're taking huge hits on financing and depreciation. Now look at car B. It's actually a slightly more expensive car up front at $45,000, but it's bought once, maintained well, and driven for the full 12 years. The total cost is just that $45,000 plus maintenance. So, by quote-unquote upgrading to a cheaper car more often, it actually costs you 3 times as much. Wild, right?
Moving on to Step 2. Automate your architecture and remove the decisions.
This is where the system actually gets built, and it's absolutely crucial. We need to shift away from the depleting resource of willpower and move to the foolproof reliability of automated systems. I absolutely love this quote. The habit isn't discipline, it's architecture. Think about it. Financial discipline is incredibly fragile. It runs low when you're stressed, when you're tired, or when there's just something really shiny right in front of you. Systems, though, systems do not have bad days. This requires a massive identity shift. You are no longer someone who tries to save money. Nope. You are structurally designed to save automatically, without even thinking about it. So, how exactly do we build this? Here is the 20-minute setup. Step 1. Income arrives in your checking account. Step 2, before you even see it, a preset percentage immediately leaves for your investment accounts. Just boom, gone. Step 3, only the remainder becomes available for your spending. That's the architecture right there. There's no monthly agonizing decision about whether you can afford to save this time. The money is securely invested before your brain even registers it as available to spend. Okay, step 3, simplify long-term investing to close the behavioral gap.
We've taken your brain out of saving, now we really need to take it out of the investing process. Because honestly, the biggest threat to your investments isn't picking bad funds or paying high fees, it's your own behavior. Look at this specific number, 8.48%. I really want this to stick in your mind. This represents a persistent behavioral error gap. It's a massive, silent drain on wealth that the research firm Dalbar has tracked for over 30 years.
Let's look at how this gap actually materializes. The market itself, like the S&P 500, returned 25.02% in a recent year, but the average equity investor, they only saw 16.54%. Why? Because they couldn't just sit still. They bought in after massive gains, panic sold during the drops, and reacted to every single terrifying financial headline. Checking your accounts daily and reacting literally destroys your wealth. Sometimes, doing absolutely nothing is the optimal strategy. Now, the urge to react is usually driven by something we call the financial ego tax. This is the hidden cost of overtrading just to build a good dinner party story. You know the drill.
You make a lucky bet, you tell your friends, you feel like a genius, and suddenly you're chasing hot stories and active trades just to maintain that smart investor identity. The quietly wealthy, they have zero financial ego to feed. Their portfolio is incredibly boring, completely on purpose.
And the math on this ego tax is absolutely devastating. Let's say you just quietly index a $100,000 investment over 15 years, it grows to about $417,000. But if you fall into ego investing, a typical 2.3% active trading drag from transaction costs and bad timing leaves you with only $304,000. That is a $113,000 gap. Your need to sound smart at a dinner party literally just pushed your retirement away by an entire decade. No thanks. Which brings us to step 4. Protect your time, the ultimate upstream resource.
Most financial advice treats money as the ultimate scarce resource, but the quietly wealthy understand that time is the true upstream resource because, unlike money, your hours do not regenerate. Once they're gone, they're gone. And this leads to what we define as a bad trade. Spending hours on a cheap task instead of delegating, which silently destroys the true value of your time. Let's say you earn a $60,000 salary. Your time is worth roughly $28 an hour. If you refuse to pay someone $12 an hour for a task and do it yourself, you probably think you're saving money, right? But you're actually making a $16 an hour mistake. Do that just 5 hours a week, and you silently destroy over $4,000 a year in value.
So here's exactly how the quietly wealthy protect their time. First, they delegate those cheap tasks. Second, they refuse below-value projects. Third, they actively choose autonomy and flexibility over pure salary. And most importantly, they stop micromanaging autopilot investments. They calculate their career moves by valuing their salary plus the hours they actually control, ensuring their time compounds just as effectively as their money does.
And finally, our overarching container for all of this. Step 5. Stay relentlessly boring and survive the middle. Look, all of the automation and simple indexing we just discussed, it only works if you develop the patience to survive the incredibly boring stretch in the middle. Because there's a huge psychological friction you're going to face here. Basically, at year 8, boring feels indistinguishable from failing. You've lived through market corrections, your account might be down, meanwhile a friend just doubled their money on some lucky crypto bet, and your quiet index fund looks painfully pedestrian. It is so hard to stay the course when it feels like literally nothing is happening.
But you have to stay the course because wealth appears suddenly in this stunning hockey stick curve. Just look at how $300 a month invested at a 10% return plays out over time. By year 20, you've ground out $227,000. Not bad, right? But watch this. By year 28, it jumps to $549,000, and by year 35, you cross $1.1 million. The absolutely massive takeaway here is that the last 7 years add more wealth than the first 22 combined. The boredom isn't incidental, it's the actual structural mechanism that produces the result.
Let's summarize this beautifully anticlimactic system. To build real wealth, you gotta opt out of the upgrade cycle. Build that automated architecture so your money literally invests itself. Ignore the market noise to close that behavioral gap. Protect your upstream time ruthlessly. And then, just wait for the hockey stick. True wealth requires absolutely zero expensive advisors, and you don't even need an astronomically high income. You just need perfectly boring, automated execution.
So I want to end this explainer with a bit of a provocative question for you. What is the one thing you're going to change about your money this week? Are you going to keep relying on fragile motivation and discipline, or are you going to stop making excuses and build your boring wealth architecture today? The math is 100% in your favor if you just get out of the way and let it work. Thanks so much for joining me today. I really hope this sparks some ideas for you, and I'll catch you next time.